I've been reborn, and with only 7 days left until my wedding, I have no intention of marrying the Lord of the Underworld. Jiang Yuanheng has departed from this world, and I have erased my name from the Stone of Three Lives. Jiang Yuanheng took Lu Yan to the underworld, and I tore up the marriage contract. Jiang Yuanheng threw a birthday party for Lu Yan, and I burned all traces of my past with him. He and she were deeply in love. This time, I'm letting go and giving them their way. But why? After I took my post in the 18th circle of hell and vowed never to see him again for all eternity, did he go mad with regret? Main text. On the Stone of Three Lives. My name and Jiang Yuanheng's are deeply engraved together. I asked Mengpa how I could erase the characters Li so from my memory. Mengpa was taken aback. Miss Li. This was carved stroke by Lord Yama himself with his divine power hundreds of years ago. To erase it would likely cost you half your life. She looked at me, thoroughly puzzled. Besides, everyone knows that Lord Yama is about to marry you as his Lady Yama. Why are you making such a fuss about this? The mention of Jiang Yuanheng made me lose myself in thought. Not long ago, he returned from enduring trials in the mortal world. And the very first thing he did was announce to the three realms that he would marry me. Everyone says that he and I are a perfect match and have found true love. But only I know that these days, I don't want to marry him, I just want to stay as far away from him as possible. The farther, the better. I forced a smile and said to Mengpa, there are so many names engraved on the Stone of Three Lives that it doesn't do justice to the uniqueness of our 1,000-year bond. I'll have mine erased from here. On the day of his wedding, he'll carve my name deep into his soul. That's what I call unforgettable. Of course not. I must erase my name. For only by severing the bond between lovers bestowed by the Stone of Three Lives will Jiang Yuanheng no longer be able to sense where I am. Mengpa didn't suspect a thing. She just laughed and said, Lord Yama truly is as fond of young women as the legends say, and then told me how to erase my name, by smearing the writing with the maiden's own blood and combining it with this spell. The moment the 3rd hour of the evening watch on the 7th day arrives, the name will vanish. In other words, in 7 days, I'll be able to go wherever I want. 15 minutes later, as the blood from my heart soaked into every stroke of the name, I exhaled deeply, turned around, and walked along the river of oblivion toward the underworld. With every step I took, a piercing pain shot through my chest. It was as if an invisible force had crushed my heart. Tears began to fall uncontrollably. I think Mengpa was right, drawing blood from the heart really does hurt. Bang, bang, bang. I looked up, and fireworks bloomed one by one in my eyes beneath the crimson moon of the ghost month, creating a breathtakingly beautiful sight. In my past life, under fireworks just like these, I married Jiang Yuanheng, who had returned after enduring countless trials with a heart full of joy. Back then, I was the envy of countless female ghosts. They said that the mighty Lord Yama truly adores me. That is indeed the case. For the sake of a single red spider lily like me, the mighty god of war from the celestial realm humbled himself and came to the underworld to become its king. Once, when I injured my face and was feeling down, he didn't hesitate to give me half of his divine bones and blood to heal me. The ghostly messengers were horrified and begged him on their knees to take care of himself. But he said, the rustling is unexpected. My heart aches as if it were being wrung. Never mind that I've given up half of my own flesh and blood as long as Sun can smile. I would gladly sacrifice my very life. Even the reason he went to the mortal realm to undergo trials was because he had sacrificed too much of his own essence to preserve my youth, causing his divine power to become unstable. He had no choice but to rely on the power of reincarnation to rebuild his divine form. Before our reincarnation, he couldn't bear to part from me, so he carved our names onto the Stone of Three Lives with his own hands, fearing I might feel lonely. He also found a beautiful young spirit fox to keep me company. Back then, beneath the fireworks, his eyes were filled with nothing but me. Susu, let's get married when I come back. Okay, whether it be gods or ghosts, whether in the highest heavens or the deepest depths of hell, I will be with Sun for all eternity. I never doubted his sincerity. If he can give his heart to me, he can naturally give it to others as well. After surviving countless trials and returning to his rightful place, He married me with great fanfare. Yet his heart remained elsewhere in the underworld where lived a girl he had brought back from the mortal realm, named Liu Yan. As time went by, he spent more and more time looking for her. There are so many that I can't even pretend not to know. It's not just him. The spirit fox I raised myself is fond of Liu Yan, too. Xiaoli had gone to see Liu Yan specifically to stand up for me. But after just one meeting, its attitude suddenly changed, and it bared its teeth at me, saying, "Sister Yan and Lord Yan are deeply in love with each other. Don't you feel ashamed for coming between them? Sister Yan is right, the one who isn't loved is the third wheel. You may have taken the title of Lady Yan, but in my eyes and in Lord Yan's eyes, you aren't worth a single hair on Sister Yan's head." When the pain in my heart was so intense that I could barely breathe, I found myself thinking, in a daze, that perhaps I really was a bad person. It kept the lovers from being together. It also traps me in a cage from which I cannot escape. But what can I do? I just can't accept it. It was clearly him who chased after me from heaven to earth. It was clearly him who, time and again, swore undying vows and dragged me into the quagmire of love. And it was clearly him who gave me half of his flesh and blood, forcing me to accept his kindness and love. So why is it that he, one who promised to be with me for all eternity, is now trying to make me be the one to ask to leave? No way. I won't do it. Even if neither he nor Xiaoli comes back, I'll stay here in the underworld and fulfill my role as the Lady of Yama. My stubbornness really did end up being my undoing. The evil spirit sealed at the bottom of the river of oblivion broke free and tore me to pieces. As I lay dying, I used my last ounce of spiritual energy to activate a telepathic device and call out to Jhan Yuanheng for help. Instead, it was Liu Yan's voice that came through. "Li Sun," she said sympathetically, "don't you ever stop to think about why the evil spirits from the bottom of the river of oblivion would suddenly come out of nowhere? And why they would single you out, of all people, just when Ah Heng isn't around? That's right. Only the King of Hell's decree can set these evil spirits free. How could I have missed that?" At that moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of regret. Why can't she let go of her feelings and has to keep entangling herself with Jhan Yuanheng? Why take in a fox you can't tame, only to get bitten in the end? Why would he activate the communication device and humiliate himself in front of Liu Yan? Why be so stubborn and let the years slip away? Fortunately, though, I've been reborn, back before I married Jhan Yuanheng and became the queen of the underworld. It's not too late. This time, I will not let love become a shackle that imprisons me. Back in the underworld, I took out a token I'd been saving for a special occasion. It is the Ghost King's decree left to me by the previous Lord of the Underworld. It is also the pass to enter the 18th circle of hell. No one knows that this red spider lily of mine was born in the 18th layer of hell. Having absorbed the malevolent spirits and malevolent energies of that realm, it is not bound by the various restrictions of hell. I was specially cultivated by the previous king of hell to enlighten the evil spirits of the 18th layer of hell. In other words, the 18th circle of hell is a place where neither ghosts nor gods, not even Yama himself, can set foot. Yet to me, it is as natural as water to a fish. In my previous life, shortly after marrying Jhan Yuanheng, Xiaoli lost this token that held the key to my return, and I was never able to return to the place of my birth before I died. Xiaoli is always accusing me of clinging to the title of Lady of the Underworld, but she doesn't realize that rather than that lofty title, I'd much rather become a ghost lord in my own right. It was precisely because I had nowhere to go that I was gradually driven into that situation. I ran my fingers over the deep and shallow patterns on the Ghost Lord's decree, feeling the eerie, ghostly aura unique to the 18th layer of hell. My heart ached, and I almost shed a tear. Footsteps could be heard approaching from behind. Jhan Yuanheng is back. I quickly tucked the Ghost Lord's decree into my sleeve, but just as I turned around, he reached out, pulled me close, and held me in his arms. "Why are your eyes red? Who's been upsetting you? Tell me." He gently wiped away the tears welling up in the corners of my eyes with his fingertips. To me, he was never the cold-hearted, iron-fisted lord of the underworld that the demons on the outside described, the one who struck fear into the hearts of countless evil spirits, but rather the man standing before me now, who could not be more gentle and considerate. Seeing that I said nothing, A look of regret flashed across his eyes. I'm sorry. I promised I'd come back early to spend more time with you. But there's been a lot going on in the underworld lately, and I've been so busy. A faint scent of peach blossoms wafted toward my nose. Lu Yan is a peach blossom demon. It goes without saying where he went. I stared at him in shock. It turned out that as soon as he had taken his place, he couldn't wait to take her from the mortal world to the underworld. Not after the wedding. Even before he married me. My voice cracked. Are you just too busy? He stroked my hair, led me to sit in front of the bronze mirror, and coaxed me in a soft voice. I'll definitely come home earlier from now on. Susu. Don't be upset. Shall I draw your eyebrows for you? He lifted my chin and carefully traced a pair of slender, willow leaf-shaped eyebrows with an eyebrow pencil. I remember you like willow leaf eyebrows. Take a look. Are you happy with them? The slender arch of my eyebrow in the mirror is 3 times more beautiful than the one I draw myself. It must have taken countless practice sessions to get this good. Who did you practice with? Is that Lu Yan? That's right. He got it wrong. She was the one who liked willow leaf eyebrows. While I've never drawn them myself. Jiang Yuanheng leaned in close to me, his tone sounding as if he were seeking praise. I drew this so well. Didn't you think I deserve a reward? Flirtatious remarks like that always used to make me blush. But this time, my stomach churned, and I threw up. His clothes were completely covered in filth. Yet he didn't use the dust-avoiding incantation. It seemed he had also forgotten the spell to shrink the earth to an inch. In a most unseemly manner, with a look of panic on his face, he rushed out of the room, clutching me in his arms. Ghost doctor. Bring the ghost doctor to me at once. After taking my pulse, the ghost doctor said I had lost a great deal of vital energy and blood and was extremely weak. Jiang Yuanheng was startled and asked me what had happened. My hand, clenched around the blanket, trembled slightly, and I lowered my eyes and said, When you went to the mortal realm to hunt ghosts a few days ago, some malevolent spirits were causing trouble in the underworld. My cultivation wasn't strong enough. So during the fight, they inevitably drained a little of my essence blood. It's true that there's a malevolent spirit causing trouble, but I'm not afraid for him to investigate. Besides, once I realized that Lu Yan was now in the underworld, I knew that while I was fighting the evil spirit tooth and nail, he hadn't gone to the mortal world to catch a ghost at all, but to pick someone up. He brought the girl he longed for to the underworld to ease his longing. I know him. Since he's feeling guilty, even if he does look into it, he probably won't investigate thoroughly. Jiang Yuanheng said remorsefully. It's my fault. I shouldn't have left the underworld so carelessly and put you in danger. I smiled, neither confirming nor denying it. I shouldn't have left so easily, but I did. Even though I tried to keep them out of danger, they ended up in it anyway. Saying all this now won't change my mind in the slightest. I looked out the window. It wasn't yet time for the red spider lilies to bloom in the courtyard. It was bare and barren, save for a single flower standing alone in the biting cold wind, a speck of crimson, like a flicker of flame. Jiang Yuanheng saw it too and exclaimed in surprise. Why has only one flower bloomed? I didn't answer him. Instead, he gave a slight smile. When all 7 flowers have bloomed, that will be the time for me to leave. It'll be ready soon. Bright red lanterns were hung both inside and outside the underworld. With the wedding approaching, Jiang Yuanheng never left my side. He personally brewed a tonic to replenish my qi and blood, let it cool, and then spoon-fed it to me. The way we used to interact, which once made my heart race, now makes me feel as if I have a thorn in my side. Just as I was about to use the excuse that the medicine was bitter to grab the bowl and down it in one gulp, a little rascal rushed in, looking as if his hair was on fire. My lord, there are malevolent spirits roaming south of the River of Oblivion, and we are unable to subdue them. Please go at once. He deliberately emphasized the word south of the River of Oblivion, urging Jiang Yuanheng to set off. I knew full well that this wasn't some malevolent spirit at all. It was clearly Lu Yan coming to snatch him away. Come to think of it, he's been staying in the underworld these past few days, having not seen anyone for so long. Lu Yan was naturally frantic with worry. Jiang Yuanheng looked at me. Son, I'm going. Before he could finish speaking, I popped a pine nut candy into my mouth to wash away the bitter taste and said calmly, "Go ahead. Business comes first." I thought I was being so understanding that he would just turn and walk away. But when he met my calm gaze, his grip on my hand tightened involuntarily, and the words on the tip of his tongue suddenly took on a different meaning. "Being with you is the most important thing in my life right now." He fixed a cold stare on the little ghost and snapped, "The underworld is vast, with countless judges and officials. If every disturbance requires this lord to step in to restore order, what use are you lot?" The little ghost shivered and backed away. I looked at him in surprise. In my past life, I wished countless times that he would stay for me, but in my struggles against Liu Yan, he abandoned me every single time. Neither my love spanning 1,000 years nor my various clumsy schemes could compare to a single tear from the corner of Liu Yan's eye. Why is it different this time? However, what he thought no longer matters. After taking the medicine, drowsiness set in, so I politely asked him to leave. "I'm tired and want to get some sleep." The next moment, he climbed into my bed, pulled me close, and breathed in the scent of my hair. "I'll sleep with you." How ridiculous and tragic. It turns out you really can act out the feeling of loving someone. If I hadn't known about Liu Yan's existence all along, and if the agony of my soul being torn apart in my previous life hadn't been all too real, I don't think I would have been able to spot a single flaw in his masterful performance. I've long since grown weary of this drama of love as deep as the sea. I closed my eyes and fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up in the middle of the night, everything around me was cold and empty. Under the blood moon, I saw 2 exquisite red spider lilies blooming in the courtyard. The wedding dress was displayed in the most prominent spot in the room. In 5 days, Jiang Yuanheng will marry me. That's also the day I'll be leaving. I slipped out of bed, took the marriage contract from the box. It was inscribed on the wood of immortality and was impervious to both water and fire. Neither in the realm of the immortals nor in the realm of the dead is a marriage contract required. This marriage contract was written by Jiang Yuanheng while he was traveling the mortal world with me, modeled after those of mortals. He said that whether in heaven, on earth, or in the mortal realm, whatever other women have, I must have as well. When he loves someone, he truly loves them with every fiber of his being. I pledge my very self, swear by this marriage contract, and vow to protect you with my life. It's really tempting. Alas, my heart had long since been devoured by evil spirits, and could no longer stir even slightly. Nothing in this world is truly invincible. Deep, undying love can change in an instant, and the immortal wood, said to be indestructible, wasn't as sturdy as I'd imagined. With the spirit scissors I'd fashioned from dragon bones, I easily shredded the marriage contract and tucked it back into the box. After sitting up half the night, I set out alone at daybreak. The street was bustling with people, and I wandered aimlessly. Suddenly, I was knocked hard from behind, as I stumbled backward and nearly fell. A hand reached out to steady me. "Are you okay?" Jiang Yuanheng appeared behind me, looking at me nervously. When I caught a glimpse of the crimson lipstick on the corner of his lips, my gaze faltered. My fingernail dug into my flesh, and the pain jolted me awake. I shook my head, slipped out of his embrace without drawing attention, and then noticed a petite ghost official standing behind him, sizing me up from head to toe. She was in disguise, dressed as a man, but I recognized her as Liu Yan at a glance. Jiang Yuanheng took my hand, thoughtfully helping me push through the crowd, and said, "You went out for a walk. Why didn't you send me a message so I could come with you? If something as clueless as that had bumped into you again, I'd have been heartbroken." His tone was full of tenderness, as if I were some fragile porcelain doll. Seeing Jiang Yuanheng ask after her well-being with her own eyes, Liu Yan's eyes welled up with tears. She stepped forward and said, "Your Honor, if we don't process those case files in the punishment hall soon, they'll be piled higher than a small mountain." She looked at me with a defiant gaze. My eyes grew cold. I don't seem to have met this minor official before. She lifted her chin and said smugly, "The Lord favors me." which is why he granted me special permission to move into the underworld to serve him, so I can attend to him up close. Jiang Yuanheng scolded her for being disrespectful, then, under the pretext of official business, told his attendants to stay behind and protect me while he hurriedly left the ghost market with her. For the next few days, he didn't return to the underworld, merely sending word that he was busy. While he was away, I gathered up many mementos from the room that held memories of our time together. A wooden hairpin he had made himself, a portrait of me, a pair of love locks that could be joined together, and an everlasting lotus lamp. These objects are imbued with his spiritual energy. It won't go bad even if you leave it for 1,000 or 10,000 years. But I burned them all to ashes with my magic. Just as the last glimmer of light faded away, the first rays of dawn broke through, and the 7th red spider lily in the courtyard bloomed. I couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. In a few more hours, I'll be able to leave. As dusk fell, the ghostly attendants swarmed in and helped me into my wedding gown. The wedding palanquin made its way along the river of oblivion, receiving offerings from the spirits. Halfway through the journey, Lu Yen slipped in unnoticed. This time, she made no attempt to hide her true identity. As soon as she spoke, her voice was soft and melodious. Li Sun, stop pretending. I don't believe you don't know about me and the Lord of the Underworld. The increasingly strong scent of peach on Jiang Yuanheng's body, the occasional petal, the traces of lipstick lingering on his lips. Every single one was deliberately left by her. He hid her away in the underworld, right under my nose. And the two of them seized every opportunity to get cozy. Jiang Yuanheng thought I didn't know, but I'm neither blind nor deaf, how could I not know? Lu Yen said sharply. He doesn't love you at all, only married you because he promised to. He said he's long since grown tired of your dull, uninteresting personality. If you know what's good for you, you should leave right now. I burst out laughing and said sarcastically, does he have no legs or no mouth? Is it really up to you to call off the engagement? As for the position of Lady Yen, Jiang Yuanheng would rather give it to someone he's grown tired of than to you. Lu Yen, what exactly are you so smug about? Could it be that secret love of his that he refuses to make public? Her eyes were filled with jealousy and resentment. My words had enraged her so much that her chest heaved violently. As she left, she spat out a venomous retort. Today is my birthday. You won't be able to keep him. Sure enough, when the wedding palanquin returned to the underworld, Jiang Yuanheng was supposed to be waiting for me at the gate was nowhere to be seen. He whispered to me again, saying there was an urgent matter, and told me to go into the new room and wait for him. I know Lu Yen won't let him come back, but I paid it no mind. I simply took off my red robe in the bridal chamber and walked alone toward the altar of rebirth, step by step, getting closer and closer. As soon as the 3rd hour of the dog hour struck, I clenched the Ghost King's token and leaped into the air. The wind ruffled his robes, making them flutter. A heart-wrenching cry rang out across the sky. Susu. No. I jumped off the platform of rebirth and arrived in the human world, to avoid being found by Jiang Yuanheng. I plan to hide in the mortal world for a while. Once my cultivation has recovered, I'll return to the underworld and go to the 18th circle of hell. They hadn't gone far when the communication device lit up. The air reflected Jiang Yuanheng's face, on which he was struggling to suppress his anger. Li Sun, no matter how angry you are, you shouldn't treat our engagement as a joke. Get back here this instant. He rarely calls me by my full name like that. It seems he's really upset. I don't understand, now that I'm out of the way. Shouldn't he be relieved? I said calmly. I'm not angry. We should have broken up a long time ago. If you say another word out of anger, he said through gritted teeth, I'll really cast you aside. You don't want me. It's clearly me who doesn't want him anymore. In fact, even one more glance at it is enough to make me sick of it. I nodded and said without hesitation, fine. From now on, you can be the Lord of the Underworld, and I'll live my life freely in the moral world. There will be no further connection between us. As soon as I finished speaking, his expression grew even more grim. Where are you now? I'll come pick you up. Lu Yan's voice rang out right beside him. Miss Li. Please calm down. The Lord of the Underworld was delayed on his way back to his palace because a malevolent spirit had escaped. He did not intentionally miss the auspicious time for your wedding. You'd better come back soon, or the entire 3 realms will be laughing at Yama's expense. She seemed to be explaining things kindly, but in reality, her words were laced with sarcasm, implying that I lacked tact and didn't consider the bigger picture. But this didn't provoke even a shred of anger in me. I said bluntly, Lu Yan, there's really no need for you to play these mind games with me, whether it's about people or status, now that I've left. I never intended to compete with you. The moment I called out Lu Yan's name, a look of panic flashed across Jiang Yuanheng's eyes, and his voice trembled slightly. You know, I said calmly, are you referring to the time I nearly lost my life battling an evil spirit for you, while you rushed to the mortal realm to bring her to the underworld? Or the countless times you were intimately entangled with her right under my nose? Or perhaps the time you couldn't make it back to the underworld in time to marry me because you were celebrating her birthday? He looked away. Let me explain. I stopped caring about these things a long time ago. I didn't want to hear a single word of explanation, so I cut him off. Jiang Yuanheng, let's part ways amicably. His eyes darkened. What do you mean? I put it even more bluntly. What I mean is that our engagement is off. From now on, we'll go our separate ways and never see each other again. He stared at me intently, then suddenly burst out laughing. Immediately afterward, he struck out with his palm. Across from him, there was a loud crash as if something had been knocked down, and the scene was filled with swirling dust. He seemed both disappointed and heartbroken, and the words that slipped from his lips were filled with reproach and resentment. Li Sun, do you have no heart at all? After all these years, haven't I treated you well enough? Even mortal men are allowed to have 3 or 4 wives and concubines. Yet I, the noble ruler of an entire realm, am not even permitted a momentary infatuation with you. He said those 4 words, a momentary infatuation, with complete conviction. He accused me of making a mountain out of a molehill and told me I was being unreasonable. I ran my fingers over the Ghost Lord's token in the palm of my hand, feeling utterly exhausted. Of course you can. It doesn't matter if you love 1 more person, or even 10 or 100, it's just that none of it has anything to do with me anymore. He clenched his back teeth. Fine. It's none of your business. Is that it? You said it yourself. Don't come crying and begging to come back to me later. Don't worry. That won't happen. In this life, even if my soul were to be scattered to the winds, even if I were to meet my end, I would not look back for a single moment. I waved my hand to end the conversation, to avoid further interruptions. I found a nearby spot to settle down and began modifying the formation attached to the sound-transmitting artifact. No sooner had it been fixed than a streak of crimson light descended from the clouds. Rustle, rustle. When I saw who it was, I smiled and said, Senior sister. It has been over 1,000 years since my senior sister established her abode in the mortal world, and I have not seen her since. She carried a heavy sword on her back, and the red silk ribbon in her hair fluttered in the wind. Just as dashing as she was in my memory, my senior classmate threw herself at me like a hungry wolf and exclaimed excitedly, Susu, I've missed you so much all these years. I ended up staying at my senior sister's cave residence for 3 whole months. That day, she asked me if I'd had a fight with Jiang Yuanheng and that was why I'd run away from the wedding and come to her alone. She urged me not to act on impulse and to cherish the person right in front of me. But when it comes to cherishing the people in your life, you have to find the right ones. Jiang Yuanheng is clearly unworthy. It wasn't a fight. It's just that there's no future for us. My senior classmate seemed to be on the verge of speaking, but stopped herself. I told my senior classmate to speak her mind. There are now more ghosts and ghost officials in the mortal world than there are living people, the senior sister said with a sigh. I was stunned. Why? My senior sister sighed and said, They've been searching everywhere for you on Lord Yama's orders, and they've already caused quite a stir. What's more, Lord Yama is currently in the mortal world, asking around for news of you. with no one left to run things in the underworld. I hear it's all gone to hell. I fell silent. For a moment. I just couldn't figure out what on earth had gotten into Jhan Yuanheng, my senior classmate, unaware of the situation. Assumed I was just sulking at him and was earnestly trying to persuade me to make up with him. I immediately grew wary and asked her if she had already met Jhan Yuanheng. She readily admitted. Don't worry, I won't tell him you're here until you're ready to see him. I jumped to my feet. Senior, I'm heading out. Someone as strategic as Jhan Yuanheng would never simply take his senior sister's word for it. I really don't want to get into a long argument with him. I was about to walk away when my senior sister reached out to stop me, asking in confusion, Susu, is there something you can't just talk about face-to-face? Right now. I deeply regret not explaining my feud with Jhan Yuanheng to my senior sister from the very beginning because I thought it would bring bad luck, which ended up creating such a major problem. To put it simply, he's with another woman. If I look at him one more time, I'm afraid I'll throw up last night's dinner. Senior sister, please let me go. The senior sister was stunned. She slammed her hand down on the stone table, reducing it to dust, and shouted angrily, You bastard. Jhan Yuanheng, how dare you lie to me? She looked at me and said reassuringly, Don't worry. My formations are incredibly powerful, not just anyone can break them. No sooner had the words left his mouth than there was a loud crash. The protective barriers at the mountain gate had been violently shattered from the outside. Fortunately, there was a magical artifact in the cave that could conceal one's form. I had just taken cover when Jhan Yuanheng appeared out of nowhere. It had been a while since I'd seen him, and he looked much more haggard. His handsome features betrayed an indescribable weariness and melancholy. Not seeing me, he fixed his gaze on my senior sister. Where is she? The senior student said coldly. You're too late. She's already left. He didn't believe me. So he spread his spiritual sense to search for me. Having found nothing, he closed his eyes in anguish, trembling as he took out the marriage contract he had repaired. Using his spiritual energy to amplify his voice, he spoke in a tone filled with pleading and remorse. I was wrong. Susu, I promise that from now on, there will be no one else between us, and I will devote myself entirely to you. From the very beginning, you've been the only one in my heart, and you're the only woman I've ever wanted to marry. Will you please come out and see me? His words were heartfelt, but I remained unmoved. Once is enough to wade through murky waters. I will never again let myself be bound by love. I will never, as I did in my past life, spend my days oscillating between hope and disappointment. Turning into a pitiful woman, self-pitying and self-absorbed woe feels like a stranger even to herself. A spirit sparrow landed at my feet, making a soft rustling sound. Jhan Yuanheng looked over. Susu. He walked step by step toward where I was standing. I held my breath, and a thin sheen of sweat broke out on my forehead. The senior student stepped forward, looking tense, reached out to block him, and said sharply, You've already looked and searched. I'll say it again. You're not welcome here. Please leave immediately. His face was dark and menacing. I will find her. No matter what. No one can stop me. Just then, his trusted ghostly official rushed in and exclaimed excitedly, Your Majesty, word has come from Luoxia Mountain that someone has seen Miss Li. After he left, I stepped out of hiding. My senior looked at me with concern and asked what my plans were for the future. I told her about the Ghost Lord's decree and said, The 18th Circle of Hell is a place of exile for the most evil and vicious spirits. And it is the only part of the underworld not under the jurisdiction of the King of Hell. If I go there, perhaps one day I too can become a local Ghost Lord and no longer be held back by him. Hearing that I had already made plans, my senior sister put her mind at ease and urged me. Then leave right now, before he comes back to kill you later. That's exactly what I was thinking. With the underworld currently unguarded, this is the perfect opportunity for me to go to the 18th Circle of Hell. A blood moon hung high in the sky above the underworld. Cold and lonely. No sooner had I entered the underworld than I was attacked. Liu Yan, her eyes bloodshot, lunged at me from behind with her sword. Li Sun, go to hell. Fortunately, I'd been on my guard. As soon as I heard the whistling sound, I dodged to the side. When I saw who it was, my eyes darkened, and I raised my hand without hesitation, unleashing a barrage of wind blades in retaliation. She was struck by the wind blade, her face contorted in pain, and the look she gave me was as chilling as poison. If it weren't for you, how could the king of hell have banished me from the underworld? Lee Sun, you wretch. Why didn't you keep your word? Why did you come back after you'd left? It was only from her words that I learned that, after Jiang Yuanheng discovered she had sought me out on the day of her wedding, he had sentenced her to the 100 Ghost Spite punishment and banished her from the underworld. You can't come back and steal Yanjun from me. She roared at me. Crazy. He's a real nutcase. I slapped her across the face and said coldly, "You're out of your league." Having vented my frustration, I turned to leave, but the next moment, she suddenly knelt before me, her expression changing completely, and began to weep pitifully. Sister Lee Sun, it's all my fault, every single mistake. I shouldn't have fallen in love with Lord Yama, and I certainly shouldn't have followed him to the underworld and caused you such worry. I'll accept any punishment you give me, but I beg you, please don't hold a grudge against Lord Yama any longer. Big, heavy tears rolled down her cheeks. She looked so pitiful that I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. Just as I was completely baffled, Jiang Yuanheng appeared. He used the Shrink the Earth to an Inch spell to teleport right in front of me. His eyes were red with excitement as he said, "Susu, I knew you wouldn't want to let me go." I felt a mix of emotions. I never expected that after hiding and evading for so long, I would end up walking right into a trap. I was surprised that he knew so quickly that I had returned to the underworld. He said tenderly, "I've cast a soul-binding spell at the entrance to the underworld. As long as you pass by, I'll be able to sense you, no matter where I am." I sucked in a sharp breath. Casting the soul-binding spell requires the caster to endure excruciating pain at all times. He's crazy too. Jiang Yuanheng reached out to take my hand, but I took a step back to avoid him, my eyes cold. "Lord Yama, I think I made myself clear enough that day. Between you and me, there's no going back." He looked hurt. Suddenly, something was nibbling at the hem of my skirt. I looked down and met a pair of narrow, fox-like eyes. The little fox rubbed its fluffy head against my leg in a fawning manner. I pushed it aside. Its eyes betrayed the same pitiful, helpless look as its owners. But I turned a blind eye and snapped, "Stay away from me. I don't want a beast that can't be tamed, no matter how well-behaved or cute it pretends to be." Jiang Yuanheng froze. After a moment, he managed a forced smile and said, Weren't you the one who doted on Shaoli the most before?" It's no wonder he asked that. The truth is, I've spoiled this little fox far too much in the past. I've fed him countless rare and precious ingredients, and spent a great deal of spiritual energy and time cleansing his meridians and refining his bloodline. It's over just like that. It's just unbelievable. You said yourself it was in the past. People change, just as you once loved me but can now love someone else. I, too, will change. His face turned pale as he moved closer to me and said, "I haven't changed. I really only love you. I only love you. Susu." I looked at him coldly. He gradually calmed down and said bitterly, "Foxes are wild and untamable. It's only natural that you don't like them. So go back to where you came from. An ordinary fox like this, once sent back to the spirit fox clan by a master of such high standing, will never have a chance to rise again within the clan." The little fox kept yelping at me, begging for mercy, but I pretended not to hear and let them take it away. Jiang Yuanheng said cautiously, "In a few days, I'll send over some docile spirit beasts. You can keep whichever ones you like." I shook my head. "No need. I don't like either you or your spirit pet right now." Having put on quite a show to slander me, only to be ignored by Jiang Yuanheng, Lu Yan, who had been standing nearby, stood up with tears glistening in her eyes and said jealously, "Sister Lee Sun is so carefree, she just cast aside a bond that had lasted for thousands of years as if it were nothing." She accused me of being heartless in a sarcastic tone. I glanced at her. You just said you'd be willing to be beaten or punished by me. She steeled herself and said, yes. I raised my hand and unleashed a blast of spiritual energy, sending her flying violently through the air. She screamed as she fell to the ground and couldn't get up for a long time. She just whimpered and cried out in pain, casting a pitiful glance at Jhan Yuanheng, hoping he would stand up for her. But instead of getting angry, Jhan Yuanheng smiled. You're just jealous. You clearly still care about me. Before I could say a word, he curled his fingers into a claw, leaned forward, and clamped them around Liu Yan's neck. His voice was as cold as ice. It was you who deliberately seduced me while I was undergoing my trial, which is why I broke Suan's heart. You didn't cherish the chance I gave you to live. Yet you still dared to come before Sun and speak so brazenly. You deserve to die. Liu Yan's face was contorted with fear as she struggled and begged. No. Don't. With a single squeeze of his fingers, Jhan Yuanheng easily snapped her neck. He walked toward me step by step, reaching out to embrace me, a mad gleam in his eyes. Whoever causes Su to suffer misfortune, I will put them to death. Come back to me. No one will ever come between us again. We'll be together for all eternity. I looked him straight in the eye. But the one who has always caught me off guard is you. Even without Liu Yan, there would still be Zhang Yan, Li Yan, Zhao Yan. From start to finish, it has been no one else but ourselves who have brought us to where we are today. He froze. Then, after a moment, raised his hand before my stunned eyes and slammed it hard against his chest. After coughing up a mouthful of blood, he looked at me imploringly. Su. I've avenged you. I didn't even spare myself. Will you forgive me? I smiled and said, okay. Then, just as he was happily pulling me into his arms, I took him by surprise, flicked my wrist, and scattered the pollen from the red spider lily, causing him to faint. Realizing he wouldn't be waking up anytime soon, I finally let out a sigh of relief. The difference in our abilities was stark, but thankfully I'd come prepared. Otherwise, this trip really would have been a suicide mission. In the 18th circle of hell, I spent nearly a century cultivating my powers while fending off the vicious spirits banished there, before I finally gained complete control of the place. During that time, we would occasionally hear news from the outside world from the newly arrived demons. Things changed in the underworld over a decade ago. That king of hell out there has gone completely mad. He's been searching high and low for his wife day and night and refuses to stay in the underworld. As a result, his trusted aide stripped him of his powers and usurped his throne. What a tragic end. Even though things were already so bad, they were still searching everywhere for his wife. Even a ruthless ghost like me has to admit that this ghost is truly a hopeless romantic. Too bad his devotion is useless. Searched high and low across the 3 realms but still hasn't found his wife. If you ask me, I'm afraid she's gone for good. Meeting my pensive gaze, the talkative new ghost suddenly flashed a sycophantic smile, leaned in close, and said, Lord Ghost King, you've seen so much of the world. Have you ever met his wife? The ghost standing next to him gave him a hard whack with a mallet. His lordship the Ghost King has his hands full with state affairs. He wouldn't know those all sorts of people and ghosts out there. I nodded. I haven't seen it before. That's true. The mountains are high and the waters are far. I shall never see you again in this lifetime. That's the end of the story. Thank you all for reading. See you in the next one.